Hello and thank you for joining us here on Arabiya English. I'm Tom Burgess-Watson. Last weekend's assassination attempt on the former US president and 2024 White House hopeful Donald Trump has raised the temperature on an already heated election campaign. It's also raised some serious questions about the security arrangements on the campaign trail. Well, one person who knows about supervising the security of world leaders is Alexander Benalla, the founder and the chairman of Comia Group, which, amongst other things, provides security services to companies and individuals. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us from Geneva, Mr. Benalla. You were in charge of the security arrangements for the French President Emanuel Macron. You also worked with his predecessor, President François Hollande. You had a key part to play when the then President Donald Trump visited France. Just tell us, when you looked at the footage, the videos of Saturday's assassination attempt, what were your thoughts? What was your assessment of what went wrong, and what were the security failings in your opinion?
Hello, Tom. Thank you for your invitation. I think it is very difficult to have a definitive opinion on what worked or what didn't during this assassination attempt on President Trump. It is very easy in hindsight for everyone to judge and say that the US Secret Service did not perform well. Even for the best cross-protection specialists in the world, it is important to understand that President Trump, as a presidential candidate, no longer has the same extensive and numerous security staff that President Biden, for example. He has a reduced team, but one that is adapted to the real threat he faces. When he travels, the seats are not as tightly secured as when he was president. Moreover, for this campaign, which mobilizes a lot of personnel, daily travel needs to be anticipated, which requires a lot of resources. In both the United States and France, it is common to rely on local security force for broad perimeter control, leaving the close range to the Secret Service. We will have to wait for the reports from the FBI and Congress investigation to understand what did not work. In any case, luck was very effective.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the profile of the person responsible, this 20-year-old gunman, Thomas Matthew Crooks, I mean, there were no red flags about him. No one knew anything about this guy. Do you think this could somehow have been prevented? Why was he able to get through?
It is a job of intelligence service to detect threats to public figure. Unlike in France, the US Secret Service has investigative powers concerning threats to the people it protects. In addition to the FBI, in France, for example, the Presidential Protection Service is not in charge of investigating threats against the president, even though they are informed about them, which can sometimes lead to problems. It is very difficult to anticipate a lone wolf threat, where the person prepares alone, does not disclose their plans, and is very determined. Anticipation is the basis of cross-protection for a public figure. The bodyguard seen in action are the last line of defense after all others have been breached. If this individual did not exhibit threat, did not visit particular seat, and managed to avoid drawing attention to himself, it is very difficult to detect and prevent him.
Sure, and just going back to what you were saying a little earlier on, I mean, do you think that now we're going to see a situation where the security arrangements for not just Donald Trump, but also for President Joe Biden are somehow revisited or amended in light of this extremely tense environment in which the campaign has been carried out?
I don't think that the fundamental processes and security protocol will change, but without a doubt, the protection staff for President Trump will be increased in numbers. We might also see the appearance of bulletproof glass devices on stage, as is customary for the sitting president, as well as references bulletproof protection for him and his bodyguard. I think just that, not more.
Okay, I mean, if you were to put some questions to the US security services, some things you would like to find out, what sort of questions would you be asking them at this stage?
I could ask them many questions, but I am not sure that they would agree to answer me. It is important to preserve some secrecy. That is why it is called the Secret Service after all.
Fair enough. Tell us a little bit about your own experience. You were President Macron's bodyguard for more than a year. You also worked with President François Hollande before him. How did you make sure the president was kept safe at all times?
Yes, President Macron protection is very well ensured by great professional on par with the major president of the world. In France, we have a more low-profile strategy compared to the Americans, with less display of force and more discretion. Our procedures are more flexible, allowing us to adapt more easily to different situations we face. There have been several attempts to harm him, but all were thwarted when advanced by our domestic intelligence services, which do a remarkable job. Most of the attempts came from the far-right movement, and there have been recent trials in France related to this. So I think that we have very good protection for our president in France, as President Trump or President Biden or other presidents in the world. Good professional.
Okay, and I think I know the answer to this next question, but are you able to share any details of any situations in which President Macron's life was in danger while you were working with him?
Yes, sometimes, but I cannot tell you more about that. All people was arrested by law forces before to attempt to his life.
And as his bodyguard, was part of your psychology, I will take a bullet for the president if I have to. Was that something you had in your mind?
Yes, I think when we make the selection test for the people who became bodyguard, we look at that. The notion of sacrifice is the ultimate thing that we can ask to people who make this job, but this is a job. And all these people are motivated and big people. They can give their life for the life of another people. And the president is the president.
Sure. And let me just ask you, you had some exposure to President Trump. I've seen a picture of you in your capacity as President Macron's bodyguard, but President Trump is beside you in the picture. What was your exposure to him? And what was your level of understanding about how his security team operated?
What is impressive with President Trump's security teams when he visited France is the number of people involved in preparing the visit. While we have 2 or 3 people for the French president, they arrive with 10 a month in advance, then 30 a week before, and nearly 300 on the day of the visit. Everything went well with them. I organized the entire security for the visit on behalf of the French presidency and was a point of contact for the head of the Secret Service during the visit. The dialogue was fluid, constructive. They have a lot of resources and are very demanding on timings and programs. Sometimes they have complicated requests, but they are great professionals, and I have a lot of respect for them.
Sure. I mean, I can imagine they're extremely thorough in what they do, and it sounds like that from your description. Just lastly, I want to ask you about what you saw on the footage of Saturday one more time. We saw President Trump duck down, well, the former President Donald Trump, he ducked down below the bullet, and it just brushed past his ear. Did his reactions change the outcome and ultimately save his life? Did he react in the right way is basically the essence of my question.
Yes, I think he has a good reflex, and the bodyguard have the good reflex too. But this day it was the luck, not security for him, the luck.
Okay, well, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to speak to us. Alexander Benalla, former head of security for the French President Emanuel Macron, thank you for taking the time to speak to us.